organization, we specialize in helping companies to be compliant, especially with all of their required benefit documents and benefit compliance. We also help with some other HR type solutions, and I'll mention briefly towards the end. But thank you very much for joining us today. So a couple of questions for you is, will you pass an ERISA Department of Labor audit if one were held today? And there's a number of things that they look for, and we've had a very small companies audited and large companies. It doesn't seem to matter the size of the group right now. We've had a group that was 12 employees that was audited just a few months ago. We had a group with 40 employees that was audited. The broker called and asked, why are you auditing this group? And the response was that they're auditing all plans by 2018. Now I think that's a little bit of an overplay. I doubt if they could audit all plans by 2018. But it does seem that it's something that we need to make sure that we're getting prepared for. So one of the things we're going to talk about today, we'll go through some of the things that you'll need to do to prepare for these types of audits. And I'll go through this information with you. Briefly, some of the things they're looking for when they do an audit, they're looking for summary plan descriptions, various employee notices, 5,500 reports if they apply, if you have 100 or more participants on a plan, and they're also checking on some of the healthcare reform compliance changes that's going on. And I'm going to go into more details on each of these here in just a moment. First, a little bit of a background. ERISA stands for Employee Retirement Income Security Act. And this was implemented years and years ago. Mainly came out back with all the problems and challenges they were having. A lot of companies were borrowing money from their retirement savings that was there to pay for their retirees. They would take the money, tie it into their general assets, and then they would go out of business, and leaving a lot of these folks who thought they had retirement plans losing their retirement. So with ERISA, it came out that it really focused to help to provide for the participants in retirement plans initially. Well, they've added over the years, it's added the health and welfare benefit plans as well. So medical, dental, life, disability, all of these things have been added now as well. And the Department of Labor, this is all managed under the Department of Labor, and a special division there called EBSA, the Employee Benefit Security Administration. So they oversee the administration of ERISA that now includes, like I said, not just retirement, but health and welfare, medical, dental, life, disability plans. So when you talk about who's covered by ERISA, everyone's covered by ERISA if you offer a group plan, unless you're a church, you're a government, or a private or public schools are also excluded because they get funding from the government. So those are all of the, everyone else is covered. If you offer group benefits, which benefits are covered? I mentioned just a moment ago, it's all health and welfare benefits, medical, dental, life, disability, health reimbursement accounts, prescription plans, vision plans. There's all kinds of different benefits. Even voluntary benefits should be covered on this under ERISA if you do them on a pre-tax basis. So there's a number of benefits that are included in this. Who's responsible for compliance? This is sometimes misunderstood. A lot of times we think, well, the insurance company makes sure that I'm compliant, or my insurance agent takes care of that for me. In reality, it is the employer that ultimately is responsible. The insurance provider and your broker will often provide you guidance and tools and assistance, such as putting on training like this, but ultimately the responsibility does rest with the employer. All right, let's go into some details on what might be included in an audit. In fact, we have several sample letters that we can share with anyone that would like. At the end, I'll give you my email address, and you can send me an email if you'd like to actually see sample letters. But the audit letter, when it comes, it's sent to your organization, and it's usually about a 4 or 5 page document, and they ask for a lot of information. I'm going to just hit some of the highlights of that information now. So they're going to request for documents that create and describe the plans that you offer. So they ask for plan documents, trust agreements, summary plan descriptions, or what's called a summary plan description wrap document. Let me just briefly explain the difference between those. The summary plan description it's more than a summary of benefits and coverage. It's more than what you get from the insurance company. And there's a lot of confusion out there that a lot of folks don't realize that there's a lot of other details like eligibility, what happens upon termination, etc. In fact, I'll show you a list of more of what's included in a summary plan description in a moment. But what a wrap document does, an SPD wrap document will create one overall plan document, and will create one summary plan description that covers all of your benefits. So it wraps around all of your component benefit plans all into one document. It simplifies the communication process. It also simplifies if you have to submit Form 5500 if you have more than 100 participants on plan. Now, there's also, they look for what's called summary of material modifications. Anytime you have a change in a benefit plan that impacts either the benefit or the cost going up or down, that's an example of a material modification or a change. So you're required, whenever you do that, to provide to participants some sort of a summary that communicates what's changed, when does that impact, how does that impact them. And so the DOL, when they're auditing, they look for that information as well. They want benefits, anything that you're using to communicate the benefits. So benefit description booklets, certificates of coverage, other documents that are given to participants, they look for that kind of information. So if you don't have this already, set up a file where you're keeping this kind of information in there. We'll talk a little bit more about the wrap documents, the details towards the end. They look for some plan administration information as well. Documents that identify who the trustees are, board of directors, sponsors. If you have a fidelity bond or stop loss insurance policy, they look for that. They want information on your invoices, proposals, letters of agreements, contracts, stop loss, fee schedules. It's surprising some of the information that's requested in these audits. All correspondence related to the plan's health benefits, complaints, claims, payments, processing. Some of this information you may even have difficulty obtaining because of the size of your group. And we had one instance where we actually had to refer the auditor over to Blue Cross Blue Shield so that they could obtain the information directly because the company didn't have access to that kind of information. Other plan administration, they look for minutes from the board of directors or plan committees, participant enrollment packets, participant records, waivers or appeals. This is important that anytime someone signs up for a benefit plan, if they're waiving coverage, make sure you get something from them that says that they're waiving that. Most of your insurance providers provide those kinds of forms as part of their application process. If they don't, then you may have to create your own, but most of them do. They look for participant enrollment packets, participation history of premium payments, benefit disbursement logs, plan chart of accounts, large claim reports, plan premium history, even medical loss ratio rebates. They're looking for all of that kind of information. Documents to review. The other thing that they look for here is the Form 5500 if you're submitting in those reports. Only applies if you have 100 or more participants or if you're doing a self-funded plan. So you want to make sure that you keep that. And there's a very high fine if you're not completing those 5500, so you want to make sure that you're keeping up on that. Evidence of employee notices. They look for various notices that they're complete, such as the HIPAA, women's health and cancer rights, the newborns, the mental health and parity, GENA, patient protection, the COBRA, you've got an initial COBRA and a qualified event COBRA, wellness notice. That's only applicable if you have a wellness plan. I'm going to show you some more information on notices here in just a moment as well. So back to that summary of what they look for. If you have your summary plan descriptions, you're taking care of your various employee notices, and then you're keeping current on all the healthcare reform changes, submitting the 5500s, and have a process in place where you're record keeping and documenting everything that's going on with the benefit plans, and you'll be in good shape. Let's talk a little bit more about summary plan descriptions. So this is one of the first things on their list, and it seems to be an area that a lot of people are missing as we, in the audits that are taking place. So it's more than what comes from the insurance company. You know, it's other things, like I said, it includes a lot of other details that often is excluded from what you get from the insurance company. So the wrap document pulls in, if you use a wrap document, it pulls in the missing insurance company information, builds in this other information that's required. And then what you get from, you include then what you have from the insurance company. So for example, if I were creating an SPD wrap document, I would pull in, I would create the wrap document, and then I would attach to it the insurance company provider information. So like my insurance certificates or brochures, something that explains the coverage. And when I get that created together, I distribute that to all participants in the plan. They require it to go out every 5 years, that you should provide them a new one every 5 years if you've had changes in the plan. And then you give your, but you also need to be able to provide current employees, those new hires, with a current SPD or a wrap document. And so you have to make sure you keep your document current and the information current with what you're providing to new hires as well. Let's talk a little bit about delivery. So there's a number of ways that I can deliver the documents that go out. So the delivery can take place, I can do it manually. So I can mail them a paper copy. If I'm going to mail it to individuals, I want to make sure I send that first-class mail. Keep in mind that a mailed, I mean, some of these documents could be pretty large depending on how many benefits you have. An SPD wrap document in and of itself could be 30 to 35 pages in length. And then you attach to that component plan information or some details of each of the coverage options. You may have a pretty large document. And that's why we really lean towards electronic delivery, and I'll cover those towards the end. You could provide hard copies to individuals as well. If you do that, then you would want to make sure you obtained a receipt. If you're mailing it, you would want to send it first class so you can be able to demonstrate that it was sent. The more popular approaches, there's a lot of folks are doing them where they're setting them up on some sort of an intranet site. So they may upload the documents, their SPDs or SPD wraps, and their component plan information to a website. And then if you do that, that works great, but you also have to still send around a separate notice telling each individual to go to that site and how to access it. You also should include in your notice information that says that you'll provide them a hard printed copy upon request if they want that, or provide them access to a computer system if they don't have one. You can also send this via email. And email is probably one of the most popular ways because you can just email it around, especially to employees who have a work email that they use on a regular basis. If you're trying to send it to a personal email, you have to obtain written consent in order to do that. And we have those kinds of documents to request that consent. So if you want to go that route and you're delivering those, let us know and we can help you with that. So if you're prepared for these audits that are taking place, you'll be making sure that you distribute an SPD for each of your health and welfare benefit plans, or the more popular approach using an SPD wrap that goes out to all participants. You do that every 5 years, and you give a current new one to all new hires. You'll make sure that you're completing all the employee notice requirements, and I'm going to show you a little bit more in notice in just a moment. Make sure that you're notifying participants of any changes in their plans using the summary of material modification, and then saving the documents for each of these as well. You'll be filing your Form 5500 and giving out a summary annual report for if it applies to you. Again, it only applies if you have 100 or more participants or are doing a self-funded plan. You want to make sure you establish record-keeping systems or process as well. So you can make sure you're tracking the contributions, the benefit payments, participant information, and so on. Now, if you're not prepared for these audits, there could be fines. It really depends on the auditor that you receive and how much you're doing already. If you have some systems in place and you're putting forth efforts, you have your SPDs, you're doing your notices, you're putting forth an effort, our experience is that they're much more lenient, and they're not. You could walk away with no fines. If you're not doing anything, you could be fined as much as $100 per day per participant, up to $500,000. So the fines can be pretty hefty. Okay, I wanted to come over to some other requirements. We talked about employee notices. There's a lot of various employee notices that you're required to provide depending on your benefits you offer, depending on your size of group and such. So if I'm, in most cases, it could be anything from COBRA, CHIP, Mental Health and Parity and Addiction Equity Act notice, newborns, women's health and cancer. There's a patient protection notice. There's a HIPAA notice. Wellness plan, if I have a wellness plan. Grandfather plan notice, if I have a grandfather plan. Medicare Part D. Then there's a health exchange notice. You're probably familiar with the health exchange notice. That one was due back in October of 2013. But you're still required to give it to all new hires. You don't have to send it out to all existing employees again every year. But you do have to provide it to all new hires. And we've talked some already about the summary plan descriptions or wrap documents and the need to get out that notice and information. And we've also talked about summary benefits or the summary of material modifications. The last one on here, the summary of benefits and coverage, usually you get that from your insurance provider. And then you'll want to make sure you're getting that out as well. So all of these are notice requirements that need to be put in place. You also need to make sure that you're shifting gears here a little bit. You want to make sure you're HIPAA compliant. There's a number of the privacy provisions that employers are still a little weak in. Some of the provisions include how they're managing their PHI, protected health information. So you need to make sure you have systems in place so that if you're transferring protected health information electronically, that you have it safeguarded, either encrypted or password protected. So anything you're doing electronically, anything you have on your systems needs to be secured with firewalls, needs to be secured if you're transferring data, and securing access to that so that only your HIPAA compliance officer, whoever you've designated your organization, can access that information. Also, you're going to want to make sure that you're putting in safeguards for physically where you're keeping protected health information. And protected health information would include information about someone's medical condition that's tied to them individually, personally. So you've got to make sure that you're securing that type of data and information. One other reminder here of something that's important, there's a lot of documents, the 125 premium-only plan documents that are out of date, and a lot of folks don't realize that. First, let me make sure where everyone's clear. This is a document that you would have. You either need to have a 125 premium-only plan or POP document, or a full cafeteria 125 flexible spending account. So you have perhaps a dependent care and a health or a medical program reimbursement plan. You have to have one of those, either of those documents, in order for employees to participate in premiums on a pre-tax basis. So if your document is older than 2014, your document would be considered out of date. And so you would need to make sure that you obtain that, either amending your documents or obtaining a new one. The reason I mentioned this about the 2014, there were a couple of changes in 2014 that need to be updated in that document. Okay, a couple of other things to make sure, if we have any hope of being compliant with all of the employment laws, let alone ERISA and healthcare reform and such, you really need to make sure that you've established some means of keeping current and up to date on all changes, what's going on, what's due, and so make sure that you're aligning and setting up those practices where you're keeping current. There's a system that's made available to you called Compliance Basics Plus. This is a tool that can help you in managing and preparing for these audits and managing your required documents and keeping you compliant. I'm just going to briefly walk through that now for you. So with this tool, the first thing that you receive is from this Compliance Basics Plus service. Every month we will tell you what you need to know and do when it's needed. So we're going to provide you with employment law updates, alerts, and due date reminders. You get one a month from us. And we capture everything that's gone on, either before that or what's coming forward in that one article at that point in time. We don't send a legal update every time there's a new change. We find that people don't like to receive so many emails. Here's an example of one. So you'll see in this here that it comes out. It'll show key compliance reminders and due dates and actions. It'll show federal compliance changes that's gone on. Sometimes you may click on a link to get more details. And then we give you state-by-state changes. So, for example, in this article here, the state of California is underlined and highlighted, so that means there were changes in California. In Kentucky, there were no changes, so it's not highlighted. An employer can come in here, and they can go to any state where they have employees and can very easily see what's changed from a state-by-state standpoint. Also, once a month, this service is going to provide you with a best practice article. So here's an example of one we did on how to pass an ERISA compliance audit. So that's another option that you could, I'm sorry, this is another service that's included. We also take, sometimes it's compliance, sometimes it's HR, human resources, or sometimes it's leadership oriented, but we always give you one best practice article each month. Back to this list of all these notices. We've created a web-based tool that's included in this service that can very easily create, manage, and generate these documents for you. So if you were to go into the system, so anyone set up on the service would receive a username and password. They would go in and answer some basic questions about their company and about their benefit plans, and then they push a button that says Generate Employee Notices. Once you generate the employee notices, then it pulls in which notice applies, populates it, fills it out, and then it emails it to you, or you could have it sent to your insurance broker as well. But it sends it in a ready-to-deliver format to go out to participants. So it includes everything in this bracket. Now, separately, we leave the health exchange notice separate. The system will generate also the health exchange notice. So it fills it out for you, populates it, and sends it to you in a ready-to-deliver format. It's ran separately because that notice goes to all employees, while the other only goes to those who are participants or eligible to participate. Separately here, we do include a summary plan description wrap document service, and we include a service to generate summary material modifications. And I'll show you those as well. I'm actually going to log into the system, and I'll show you how that works and what that looks like. The summary of benefits and coverage. I mentioned earlier you get that from your insurance providers, and so that's something we don't generate, we don't handle, but do make sure that you include that. So we help with all of the other items on this list. The summary plan description wrap document, we've mentioned before a little bit about what it is and how it works. The system will allow you or your broker, actually allow both of you, access into the system. So you can answer simple questions about the benefits you provide. It asks questions about eligibility, about what happens to benefits when they terminate. And you answer those questions, and then you generate your SPD wrap document. Then it's sent to you with instructions on what to include and how to send it out. You'll see also we assist you along the way. If you have questions or problems, you can call and speak with a compliance specialist to help with that. I'm going to go into the system now and actually show you what that looks like. So, okay, so if I were to go into the system now and I'd log in, I'm going to log in from a client view and just show you some of the tools and resources that are included. So if you were given a username and password as being set up on the service, then you could go in and actually have access to all of these different drop-downs and tools and options, all designed to help you be legally compliant. So we were just talking about this all in one notice. So if I go under Employee Notices, Employee Notice Report, I can come in here, answer simple questions about the company, answer questions about my medical insurance, and the answers to these questions actually make it so that I can come down here now and I can push this Generate Employee Notifications document, and then it will generate this all-in-one notice, or I can generate my health exchange notice right from here. And then it comes in one simple document that's very easy then for me to distribute and pass out to participants in the plan. I can also access all legal updates, whether it's I can look at updates month by month, or more often than not, we're looking for information on a legal topic. So we have a legal topic library here where you can get information on all of the various laws and changes over the past several years where you have access to the information in there. Now, most of you already have your new hire forms and documents. You can, we have a section here called HR Forms. We have the latest I-9, W-4, job application, direct deposit, authorization for payroll deduction, whatever forms that you might need here at your fingertips. Again, most of you already have that, but it's nice to have a one-place stop where you can get the latest information. We also provide you with all of our HR bulletins, our best practice articles. The first of the year, we wrote an article on the Affordable Care Act employer reporting requirements. And so this is just an example of one. Other things might be something like, how do I boost productivity? You know, so there's lots of information inside of here that's available to you. Once a year, we also provide you with a compliance calendar. So the compliance calendar will cover all of the employment laws that we know. We give it to you in December, and it covers for the whole year and shows you all of the changes that we know at that point in time and what's due at what point in time. For example, in February, there's an OSHA posting requirement, and we'll notify you that in January that you have that requirement, but you'll receive it, you'll see on the calendar that it shows to post your OSHA reports, the OSHA posting requirement from February through April 30th. So that's just something that's provided each year as well. So coming out of here for a moment, we talked about HIPAA compliance and the need to do that. There's a HIPAA toolkit in here where you could go under the HIPAA toolkit, covered entity determination start here. Here I can understand what parts of HIPAA apply to me, and then what are the steps to create a HIPAA compliance program. Once I've done that, then I can come back to the toolkit, and here's all the HIPAA forms, documents, policies, everything I need to create an overall HIPAA compliance program for me and my organization. So it's nice having this. Again, these are tools and resources to help you to successfully be overall compliant in managing your all employment laws as well. I mentioned the Summary Plan Description wrap service. That's included in this Compliance Basics Plus. So if I click this SPD wrap button, I can come down here now and I can answer basic questions about my company. I answer questions about which benefit plans I have. And then based on the items that's checked here, so if I indicate which benefits I have, and that's what populates down below. I cover eligibility. I cover what happens when the plans terminate. I open enrollment, my plan year, on down to each information details on each of the benefit plans. So here's my medical, dental, life, disability. After I've entered that information, I come down here and I can generate my document. I can have it sent directly to me or to my insurance broker or to both of us. If I have questions or questions as I go, comments as I go through this, or if I need help customizing my document, you can call us anytime and we assist and help with that. Or you can make comments here and our specialist will then review your comments and information before your document's generated. We try to make this very easy. We save this data. It's here. You can come in anytime you have changes. So every year you come in, you update the information, you generate a new document. And it becomes a very easy way to manage your documents and to keep current with all the compliance requirements. There's also an option here for a summary of material modification. That's what the SMM stands for. So if I have a benefit change, I can come in here, indicate which benefit changed. I can either attach information explaining the change, or I can go in and actually explain it myself and type in the details. So you have an option there. I indicate the date that the change occurs, and then what kind of a change is it? Is it increased benefits, decreased benefits? And maybe I have more than one change that I want to communicate, so I could create another one. And then I just generate my notice, and here it will actually appear for you to download and send out to participants. It then saves your information here, where you can go back in and download any of your past summary material modifications, and it also helps so that you can communicate to when you have your Department of Labor audits, you'll be able to communicate these summary material modifications here. I mentioned if you we talked about the 125 premium only plan document. If you need a document, this is an option. You can add that or leave it out of this service. If you have the service, then you can go in and manage your documents. So if you have, you can go in and print off a new document anytime there are changes. You can also do what's called the discrimination testing inside of here. So I'm going to stop for a moment and would like to just see what questions you have so far as we've gone through here. And in fact, it looks like we have a couple of questions. So I'm going to open this up here. Okay, so the first question is top 2014 documents out of date for new hires, or everyone needs a new form. Okay, so with the premium only plan document, we actually don't have to distribute that document to participants or new hires. We just have to have that document on file and have a current, accurate one. So if the IRS comes in and wants to, to demonstrate that you have the authority to do premiums on a pre-tax basis, that's what that document will do for you. You also have to provide do discrimination testing each year as well. Now, if someone doesn't want to participate and have their premiums taken out on a pre-tax basis, it's pretty rare. Most people want that tax savings. But we'll provide a document that they can sign and waive so that their premiums don't come out on a pre-tax basis. So if anyone else has questions, feel free to type over a question here. We've had others join now, so I've muted everyone. But please let me know if you have any questions as we go here. So now I'm going to go back to the document here. Let's see what else we have. Let me show you. So let's just say, for example, if you've in going through this, if this looks like a service that you're interested in, you're able to get this service at a discount because of your relationship with Benefits Boulevard. So because of your relationship there, you actually receive a discount on this service. If you're interested in this, if I were you and were interested, I'm going to log out of the system here. So if you went to hrserviceinc.com is our main website, so hrserviceinc.com. And if you were in here and you said, I'd like to get started, and you click Get Started Now, then you come down here and you choose which service options you want. What we talked about today was the Compliance Basics plus SPD wrap service. And if you need an updated 125 premium only plan document, then you would include that. These are annual costs. So your annual cost for this whole program that we just talked about here is $229 or $279 if you include the 125 POP document. So this is where I would go to get started. I would just click, let's say that I wanted the full Compliance Basics plus SPD wrap and POP. If I check that box and then I say Next, then I create a username and password that I'll want to log back into the system with. I will enter in a partner key. Let me just quickly look up your partner key here for your organization. The partner key, let's see, I'm sorry, I should have had this looked up here before. Okay, so the partner key for Benefits Boulevard is 1368. So if I were in here and I wanted this service, 1368, I would enter in that partner key. Now what that does for you is that'll give you 5% off of everything, off of the cost. And it also connects in Benefits Boulevard so they can see and access your information. So that if you need any help creating your documents, that they have that ability to go back into that system as well. Okay, so again, I went in to get started now. I selected the service I wanted. I enter a username and password that I want to log into the system with. I enter in a partner key of 1368, and that's the partner key for Benefits Boulevard. Now if I hit Next, you'll see it just asks for basic information about my company's name, address, phone number, email, and then you would just pay with a credit card. So it's that simple in getting set up on the service here. So I mentioned at the beginning here that if you would like copies of any of the information we talked about here, if you'd like a copy of a DOL audit letter, if you want more details about this, please feel free to contact me. I'm Ken Spencer. You can reach me at 801-685-8400, extension 6, or email me at ken@hrserviceinc.com. I'm going back to the meeting here again for a moment. I would just like to open it up if there's any other questions that anyone else has. Please feel free. I do have it looks like I have another question that came over. Okay. So the question was asked is, are we recording this meeting? Did someone miss part of the meeting? And the answer is yes. We have recorded this meeting. So Benefits Boulevard will send around a copy link of the information and for anyone else that needs to see this as well. Again, thank you so much for your time today, and please let us know how we can help you to be compliant, be ready for these audits. We recommend you do the Compliance Basics plus SPD Wrap and POP service so that you are ready and you have some valuable tools there to help you through that process. Again, thank you very much for your time today. Have a nice afternoon.